Yahar, mateys! I lost my eyeball in using EC2, so I will show you how to use it so that you don't lose your eyeball like me. Arr! Actually, this eye patch is too small to fit in my head, so I'm not going to wear it this whole time. Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you the main concepts that you're going to be using in EC2. So it's a very brief tutorial, but I want to cover the core concepts and I want to show you, I guess, some of the things that you're going to be using most of the time if you're using EC2 alone without other services to go alongside it, like auto-scaling groups or elastic load balancing. So, yeah. And EC2, of course, is one of the most popular languages, so that's why you would want to learn it. Or, it's not a language, sorry, it's a service. But if you do not know about me, I am a software engineer, and I work with AWS all the time. And I have about 6 AWS certifications at this point, probably 7 by the time you watch this, maybe 1 million if it's like in not 2020. So I am experienced enough in AWS to know about EC2 and how to use the key components of it. All right, so here I am in the AWS console. And of course, EC2 is in the compute section. And the #1 tip for using EC2 is to triple tickle that like button for the YouTube algorithm, as it'll help me out a lot, and I put a lot of effort into these kind of videos. And I lost my eye, for this, just to make this video. So hitting that like button would help a lot. All right, the first thing most people want to do when they use EC2 or they want to hear about EC2 is they want to launch an instance. So it's really easy to do that. I'm using the new EC2 experience, but it's been updated recently, but you can use the old one as well. So you launch the instance, and of course, you get many different options. Of course, you can do it in Linux. You can use Red Hat. You can use Windows. Windows, of course, is going to be usually more expensive since they charge for like Windows licenses and stuff like that. And that's why they want to use Azure. They want to like advertise Azure. But anyways, Linux, the one I'm most familiar with, so I'm going to use it. So we can use. It doesn't really matter which Linux one. I'll just do the top one. So I wanted to, of course, do a free tier eligible one, so you don't spend money on it if you're doing this as well. And of course, if we go back, actually, you can see AMIs, which are Amazon Machine images. If you had any saved on account, here they would show here. There's also AWS Marketplace, which you can use for like security instances. You can use some for ETL, for Redshift. Firewall instances, there's pen testing, stuff like that. There's many different products, and I guess from $4,599 a year. That's pretty expensive, but I guess you get what you paid for, like a firewall for AWS PageE. And then there's community AMIs as well, which I guess are going to be free as well, which is nice. So these would probably be a cool place to look for as well. But we're just going to use a quick start one. And of course, you can click free tier only to see everything that's free tier. But they advertise a little bit of database as well here. But let's do here. We can do 86 or ARM. We'll just do 86. That's fine. And then we can choose the storage. So we can go from T2 Nano, which is surprisingly not in the free tier. I think they should have that in the free tier because it has less memory, even though it's the same amount of CPUs. But I guess it's just like the cheaper option. Even though if you do check that and you're in the free tier, you will get charged. So T2 Micro is the way to go for the free tier. But there's different instance types. So for example, you can go T2 as a family, and of course T3 is the next generation of that family. So there's general purpose, which is another for M5. And then there's compute optimized, so that's C5. There's GPU instances, memory. If you want a lot of memory, you can do that. Like 760, is that 768 gigabytes of memory? Gigabytes? Yeah, so you can get a lot of gigabytes of memory as well. But we're going to, I don't want to click that. That'll cost a lot of money, by the way, if you go for those really high instances. So we'll continue. So now we can configure all the nitty-gritty details, like how many instances we got, if we want to do in spot instances. So what spot instances will do is you can get a lower price, potentially, but it's kind of like you're bidding for the price of the instance. And of course, you can bid per availability zone, and you can say what's the maximum price. And if that maximum price is reached, then you can, or the instance will get shut down because you don't want to pay for that anymore.
And persistent request ensures that your request will be submitted every time your Spot instance is terminated. All right. So there's network options here. You can select your VPC. You can create a new VPC. You can say which subnet your instance will go into. And you can auto-assign a public IP. So if you don't want your instance to be public to the world, this will be useful here. You can change the placement group, add instance to the placement group, or you can add a new placement group. You can change your IAM roles to see what privileges that your instance will have. So for example, you might want your instance to access S3, which is a very common example. So you can create a new IAM role. So let's see that. And that will, of course, take you to the IAM menu. So let me go back. I don't want to create a role, but you can't do that here. All right, so we're back on the instance details page. So you can also change the shutdown behavior. So if you do not want, this to terminate, you can just stop it, or you can terminate it when you shut it down. You can enable hibernation, and you can do monitoring and tenancy, stuff like that. And there's T2-3 Unlimited, which allows the application to burst beyond the baseline for as long as needed at any time, which is pretty cool. All right, so there's metadata, advanced options, and stuff like that. We're not going to go into that. All right, now we can add more storage for the instance. So there's 3 types of storage, or volume types right now. So we have general purpose SSD. We have the provision IOPS SSD, which is going to be much, much faster, but of course it's going to cost more. And then magnetic standard. So for example, you can change the provision IOPS SSD to really high. But if we do that for general purpose SSD, you can only go up to 3,000. So yeah, I don't know what the limit is for provision. It's really high. Okay, yeah, it's 32,000. It used to be require a Nitro instance. So you can get really high, even if you get a Nitro instance, which is pretty cool. But that, of course, would cost a lot. So let me go to the previous, and then next storage. So you can, of course, change the size, delete on termination. You can have it be encrypted for if you want it to be security compliant, which is very important to have. And then we can add tags to an instance. So for example, we can say cool server. Like this is the cool server. And then we can say true. This is the cool server. And then we can configure a security group to see like if we want to add HTTP, if you want to connect it with HTTP through TCP. You can do that, and then you can set which IP range will do that. You can do that from. So we're just not going to do that. We're just going to allow SSH and from any IP right now, and then we can click review and launch. So it's open. It'll warn you it's open to world, which is fine for now. It's just like a test instance. I wouldn't recommend to do this for like normal instances that are actually doing something useful. So we can launch it. And then we can choose a key pair. So we can create a new key pair. We'll call this one like subscribe. And then we can download that key pair because we're going to need that later to SSH into this instance. And then we click launch instance. And 2 to 5 business days, it'll be ready. I'm just kidding. It'll probably be ready in like 2 to 5 minutes. All right, so we got this server running here. It's running. So now you might be thinking, oh, what do I do with this server? Now we can delete it, or we can do something useful with it, like install Catfax on it. So first, to do that, we were going to have to use an SSH client, like using PuTTY if you're using Windows or Mac, it should work as it is. So you get that PIM file you made before. So like subscribe.pim, which is made like a second ago. For you, it was a second ago. For me, it was 3 years ago, because I have a hat now. And now we can SSH into the instance. So what we can just do is just copy and paste this, and then this into the terminal, and boom, we should go. All right, so we did just that with the chmod 400 and then the PEM key. And then if we just type in that SSH command, we should be able to get in. All right, so I have the command ready typed. Press enter, and then are you sure you want to continue connecting? Hell yes. And then warning, you can blah, 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 unprotected private key file, blah, blah, blah. Or you could just SSH with the EC2 Instance Connect thing, which is browser-based connection. And this is probably the easier option because you don't have to do fancy like SSHing or changing permissions of whatever. So there you go. You can do sudo yum update to update the instance. You can do whatever you want in this instance, like use Apache and whatnot, and create a web server out of it. But yeah, that's that. All right, so let's look at some of the other features of this EC2 experience. So if we look at the dashboard, we can see the number of instances we have, which we only have one for now, which is fine. We can also see how many key pairs we have, if we have any snapshots of like the storage, the volumes we have. We only have one volume as well, is an SSD. We can go back, see any elastic IPs that are open in the world. Dedicated hosts, which are basically hosts that are dedicated like for a very long time. And we can have load balancers, which is probably the better way of doing EC2. Instead of just doing single servers, you can have auto-scaling groups. And in front of that is going to be a load balancer. So that's probably the best way to do EC2 if you're going to go down this route. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff like instant types, launch templates, spot requests, savings plans, everything you can ever think of and dream of with EC2. And it would take me a long time to go through everything. So I'm going to end this video here. Hope you liked it. If you did, hit that subscribe button as it'll help you a lot. I'll talk to you later. Peace.